Every single day, the Russians lose hundreds of soldiers in Ukraine, and so far, they have lost an absolutely massive amount of troops. The latest number of Russian soldiers killed in the war is 29,050. And it is not just troops that Vladimir Putin is losing. He has also lost almost 1,300 tanks, 3,150 BMPs, almost 900 artillery systems, including self-propelled, 170 helicopters, 204 aircraft, and 2,000 other vehicles. 12 Russian generals are also included in these numbers. Now, losing soldiers and material is one thing, losing a general is another, and Russia has lost 12 of them. That is not normal. Think back, when was the last time you heard about an American or European general who was killed in action? If you're like me, you probably can't remember a single time, because in this day and age, losing a general on the battlefield is something that just doesn't happen anymore. Until now at least. This is saying something about how terrible this invasion is going for Vladimir Putin and Russia. In Severodonetsk, heavy fighting has been taking place as the Russians attacked the city from 4 directions at the same time. The Ukrainian defenders completely denied the massive enemy assault and sent the Russians running back to their previous positions. The city itself, however, is still being bombarded round the clock by Russian artillery. Many of these strikes are aimed at residential neighborhoods, as Vladimir Putin is still using his favorite strategy of trying to bomb Ukrainian civilians into submission. The grim face of Russian terrorism also showed itself in the town of Losova in the Kharkiv region. Here, the Russians used a precision strike to destroy the local cultural center. At least 7 innocent civilians were injured, including an only 11-year-old child. Again, bombing this local community center makes absolutely no sense militarily. The only reason why they bombed this building is because they can. This is evil. There are no other words for it. Intense fighting is also taking place northeast of Popasna, where the Russians are attempting to advance under the cover of artillery fire. The information available at this moment seems to indicate that the Russians are trying to advance in the direction of Bakhmut, right here. However, looking at the map, one could also think that the Russians would be planning to advance north towards Seversk, thereby cutting the Ukrainians off from Severodonetsk. The Ukrainian defenses in the area are very strong though, so the Russian army probably wouldn't be able to do it. The salient around Popasna itself though could prove very dangerous for the Russians. The Ukrainians still controlled both sides of this small entrance to the salient, and this stretch of land is only about 2 kilometers wide. Now, if the Ukrainian army could somehow counterattack the Russians and take control of this line, they would create an encirclement of enemy troops, the likes of which haven't been seen since World War II. The Ukrainian army have definitely showed themselves more than competent enough to be able to pull off things like these. Further south, Vladimir Putin's army again assaulted the city of Marinka. The assault, however, was without any success at all, for the Russians at least. The Ukrainians managed to eliminate several enemy combatants. In Kharkiv, the citizens have enjoyed a timeout from heavy Russian shelling since the Ukrainian army managed to push the Russians far away from the city. This timeout could be ending very soon though, as Vladimir Putin have stationed Iskander missiles just north of the border. These missile systems have a range of around 400 to 500 kilometers. The Russians are probably going to use these missiles to resume the bombardment of civilians in Kharkiv. In southern Ukraine, in occupied Kherson, Vladimir Putin seems to be using the old Iron Curtain strategy. Local residents confirms that Russian soldiers are mining the roads that Ukrainian civilians are using to leave the occupied city for Ukrainian-controlled territory. The Russians are right now in the process of converting the entire city of Kherson into a giant open-air prison. This is of course reminiscent of the Cold War, where the Russians would rather kill their own citizens or the citizens from the Russian-occupied Eastern European countries than letting them leave for a better life in the West. Putin understands that most people don't want to live under an oppressive, authoritarian regime. In fact, more than 14 million Ukrainians have been forced to leave their homes since the beginning of the Russian invasion. Many of them have left the Russian-occupied territory, and in particular the Donetsk region, which before the war was one of the richest regions of Ukraine. The land that Putin is occupying at the moment have been completely scorched. There's no people living there. The cities, towns and villages have been leveled. There's no infrastructure left. Bridges have been blown up, roads destroyed, fields have been mined. The land is not viable for human population anymore and won't be for years to come. Vladimir Putin and Russia have ruined it. But why have it been so destroyed? Russia could have taken Ukraine in hours, couldn't they? If you ask Russian state media, the answer is yes.
Неужели мы не могли бы при желании разобраться с Украиной, не просто днями, а часами? Но мы ведем такую специальную военную операцию, именно поэтому это не война, а операция. Война не ведется так. Мы жалеем их всех там. Это раз. Второе, мы понимаем, что там очень много наших людей, которые заложены.
She's actually saying that the only reason why they didn't defeat Ukraine in hours was because they didn't want to, and that it has to do with the fact that Russia is not waging a war, but instead conducting a special military operation. Like there's even a difference. Russian state media has gone from being absolutely insane to just being plain out sad. Almost as sad as Vladimir Putin. Thank you so much for watching. If you liked the video, please go and give it a like. If you want more content like this, you can go and subscribe to my channel.